podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not reflect the opinions of the parent network or any of its other entities. They might not even reflect the opinions of the podcast host. The truth is out there. Here, we're just talking about things. Do your own research.
The jack of hearts will break me. Lets me feel like Judas, baby. Does he ever go through your mind?
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Blurred Lines. We haven't been back in a while, but, it's because we've been juggling platforms and everything, but now we're back, and I'm really excited because I've got some buddies with me tonight. I've got my buddy Jukebox Ginger.
What's happening, everybody?
And my buddy Irish Vinny. I don't know what else to call you, man.
Irish Vinny. I've been called worse. I've been called Vinnie Greene.
Vinnie Greene.
Vinnie
Okay.
Greene.
Yeah.
Oh, how appropriate. Yeah, because Vinny to us from Ireland, man. That. Thank you for staying up for this, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's the wee hours of the morning. It's okay. I'm highly caffeinated. It's good. I'm here. My body is cold.
Yeah, Vinny's been on many of the JG's Lounge podcasts. It's been a while, but he's very familiar with the network.
Cool. So he understands how tangential this is going to get.
Yeah. He doesn't know your humor, but I think we'll all fit along just fine.
Oh. Yeah, either that or I'll have a new enemy across the pond. It'll be great.
I'm way too lazy for new enemies, bro. It's okay.
All right, man. So typically when we do Blurred Lines, we have a focus of one or two major themes for conspiracy theories. But there's been so much shit going on from December until now all around the world that it's just we're going to be all over the place. So you guys need to buckle up. And if you're listening, get out your conspiracy bingo card. Okay. We're going to be touching on a lot of stuff.
I'm excited for this.
All right. So, but first, I did some research, okay, of the Irish folks and your cryptids, okay? We've got Bigfoot over
This
here.
is going to end poorly.
Well, it's fascinating because, like, as I'm looking at the cryptids that you guys have, and man, there's a ton. Like, if you start looking up, and for those of you who don't know what cryptid is, it's a mythological creature, supernatural creature, like a Bigfoot, chupacabras, things like that, right?
Right.
Okay, but with the Irish, now there's some ones that most people I think would recognize, like banshees, leprechauns. But have you heard of something called dude, please forgive me because I know like you guys have letters, but the way they're pronounced is not letters. So,
Of course.
Okay. So I'm gonna butcher this, and I apologize.
We like the people.
The first one I saw was something called a fear gorta, Gorta. Does that sound familiar to you?
No.
Okay. It's weird. It's like an Irish zombie, except for their version like has bones poking out of the skin like spikes and things, and their skin is like blue, like hypoxia. And that was more I was reading about it. I was like, oh, we've got these in America. They're just called crackheads.
I was going to say we've got something like that here to call heroin addicts,
Okay, all right, off to a great start. All right, so kelpies. I was just talking to you here have you heard of kelpies?
Is that like a fish thing or something?
Yeah, it's like so it's like half horse on the front, fish on the back, and all of your depictions. I keep saying yours like you own them, but like. What it's my island. All right. So all the depictions, they look like nice. They look innocent and kind, but the lore surrounding a kelpie is that they lure children to water and are like, hey, come have a ride on my back. And as soon as the kid gets on their back, they dive to the bottom of the water and kill them.
Oh, like kangaroos.
Kangaroos do that?
Yeah, kangaroos like lure people into water and drown them.
I said I didn't know that.
Yeah, I swear.
What?
Yeah, kangaroos are
Anything in
menace,
Australia that won't fucking kill you. Jesus.
man. Yeah.
No, that's funny.
Okay.
So, you're off to a great start here, Sean.
Oh, I'm killing it, man. All right, now there's something called pukas. You ever heard of pukas?
Puka is like a ghost, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. It's like
spirit.
like a spirit, shape-shifting spirit, evil as shit. That's the thing. Every one of these things is evil as shit. It's like everyone. There wasn't like a nice spirit. Like, oh, these are nice. It's like, no, this will fuck you up.
How do you think we
Some
got the
sort of
English
way.
out, you know?
All right. So there's something called, and I think I have the pronunciation on this one correct. The Doulahan.
Doulahan. But that
Yes,
does sound familiar.
yeah, and yours sounds way better when you say it. But yeah, it's like the headless horseman is basically the base description I found on that one.
Cool.
Okay.
He's like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
No, the word sounds familiar, but I didn't link it. You know.
Okay,
what I mean?
so
Like,
how about can you give us one that you know of, like a lore, like some
me?
huh?
Yeah, like me. Yeah, like, the Changeling is a very famous one.
Yeah.
Where
Okay.
yeah, have you ever seen the movie? It was kind of popularized, modernized in the movie Hole in the Ground. Recently, it was directed. It's a really good Irish movie. It's about the changing lore where like children would disappear and come back, and the mother would swear that it's not their children, and they've been replaced by this
You
like
know what? I
small
have seen that.
entity.
I
Yeah,
have
it's
seen
really
that.
really good movie, and it's a really like popular lore as well. Like the changing would happen, and there's lots of records and mothers claiming that their children have come back and they're not their children. You know, that's
There,
one really famous.
That's called puberty.
Yeah.
I don't recognize this little asshole anymore.
were they about 12 and 13 when you lost them? Okay, yeah.
That's a bitch. That's my child.
Oh, that's good. It's good stuff.
Okay.
No, I actually do think I've seen that movie. It's
need
not
to see
it's not super old, is it? It's actually
No, it's only a few years old, and the director went on to direct the new Evil Dead movie as well. Do you know Evil Dead Rise?
yeah. Which
The one in the
I
apartment.
liked them, but I didn't like. I'm such a big fan of the originals.
Yeah, you can't beat the
Oh,
first three.
yeah, those were incredibly good. But yeah, I will say I like the change of the tone in those first the original trilogy. The
Yeah,
first one, I mean, even though there was a bit of funny in it and if you know anything about the history of the behind the scenes when they shot that first Evil Dead, holy shit, what a nightmare scenario what
such
they
a small
went through.
budget as well.
What's that?
Such a small budget as well. You know, they're just college students. You know.
Yeah, and they were out in a cabin in the woods, and I mean, just like every vile thing that could have happened to make the shoot just terrible happen. But
Yeah.
man, I loved how they progressed to by the time Ash versus the Evil Dead. When it was, this is my boomstick. I mean,
Army of Darkness.
Alignment.
Army of Darkness. That's what it was.
Yes.
I mean, God, what a great movie. Shop smart. All right, so I'm O for whatever on this one. I'll throw the last one out before we move into the next stuff. But have you heard of the Fomorians?
Oh yeah, the Fomorians, yeah, and they fought against the Tuatha De Danann.
Okay.
It was like the two of the Danann were based in like Irish lore. You have like Nuada and people like this, and you have the Morrigan, who was like, and their symbol was the crow. And then they went to war with the Fomorians over control of Ireland, and the Fomorians won. And King Baylor was their leader, and he forced the two of the Danann offshore. They went and regrouped and came back, and they fought for control. And it was just a really cool thing where they burnt their ships on the coast because there was going to be no retreat. So they just like marched into Ireland and then they defeated the Fomorians. And like the Fomorians is so fascinating because you have like King Baylor, like pretty much what happens is Nuada lost an arm. He was known then as Nuada Silver Arm because his arm was remade by a magic masonry kind of guy that gave him a silver arm. But because he didn't suit the two of the Dannans, they had this thing that he had to be perfect, unblemished. And because he was no longer unblemished, they said he could no longer be their king. And so the guy who made him the silver arm, his son covered it over with flesh so he could become king again. And because he like changed his work, he actually murdered his own son for destroying his work. Like, you know what I mean? So that's the lore around the Fomorians and Tuatha Dé Danann and King Nuala and King Baelor. Man, it's fascinating. That's something I'll talk about for way too long, if you let me.
We should do a show on that, actually.
Yeah, man, fascinating.
Hey, I love stuff like this because, like, granted, I like my country and everything, but it's like, yeah, he had a silver arm and it was magical, but then you have to cover the flesh, and then this guy murdered him. And we're like, our first president had wooden teeth.
Yeah, but like, he conquered the West, like Manifest Destiny and Louisiana Purchase and all these incredible things that he did, like Lewis and Clark, and you know what I mean, Kit Carson and defeating the Native Americans and the Mexicans. Man, your history is amazing.
Bloody.
From your guys, yeah. From your
everybody's history on this planet's bloody, man. There's nobody's.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, the way that you worded it, but the way that you just explained it is so factual, and our school systems here are hiding a lot of that.
Oh, yeah.
it's like I know what you did to the Native Americans was atrocities, but like so many people have been conquered by other people throughout the world, and that's the way the world is the way it is. Like, because other people that had that land previously were conquered by the guys that own it now. You know what I mean? It's not like America is not an aberration. It's just like a more modernized version of what happened in ancient times.
Right.
That's the way it is.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, as somebody whose grandparents were Native American, like, the tribes weren't even peaceful. Like, there were some, like Miami Nation and places, other tribes like that. Most peaceful of all. But you know what I'm saying? Like, tribes would just murder the shit out of each other all the time. But I like some of the traditions that the Native Americans have. You ever heard of something called counting coup?
No.
Okay. All right. So this was like the ultimate, just from one warrior to another. So they would be in the heat of battle, and they would have these things called coup sticks, and you would run up to a warrior from the other tribe and basically smack him with his coup stick, and then beat feet away from him. And it was called counting coup because you were when they got hit, it was like, I could have fucking killed you, bro, but I didn't. So it's it's like, not only did I not kill you and prove that I was a better warrior, getting close to you, right? But basically, your life is now mine because I could have taken it.
Have you ever read the book The Empire of the Summer Moon? But I think it's S.C. Scott. It's about the Comanche Nation, like their history from when they were hunter gatherers all the way up to their decimation. Man, it is incredible, and it depicts some of what you're talking about, the war in nations and how like everyone has this idea of this like peaceful existence, and it wasn't. It was, you had these nomadic tribes that were constantly running into each other's territories, and they were being butchered and killed, and there was reprisals, and it's never ending. Like, I laugh when people think like the Westerners came in and they like invented murder in America. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not how it works.
Guys in a lab, like, wow, this is really gonna fucking change some shit.
These guys are so peaceful; they're not going to be expecting that we're going to be able to murder these dudes. You know what I mean? Like, I just think it's hilarious. You know?
Oh
my god. Bone Tomahawk. Have you seen Bone Tomahawk?
Yeah, oh my god, yes.
Ooh,
I wrote
that's
a review
fascinating.
of Bone Tomahawk years ago. Yeah,
it's a great.
Oh
film.
Man, I love that movie.
I will have to check out Bone Tomahawk. That really does sound like it has a XXX rating.
It's gory. It's gory, but it's good. I mean, it's on our topic.
It's got one of the best scripts you'll hear in modern westerns as well. Like, it's such, the dialogue's incredible, and it's great cast as well. Kurt Russell's in it as well. With fantastic hair and beard.
It's I've seen it like 4 times. It's good.
Yeah, dude. Yeah. Love it. I've watched it every year since I've discovered it, if that makes sense. Like, since I first came upon it, I've had to watch it once a year. I used to write reviews for an American website. I wrote a review on it. Man, I love that movie so much. Richard Jenkins is incredible in it.
I have to check that out. There's also one that they filmed. I don't know if it's out yet, but there was a book called Killers of the Flower Moon, or Killers Under the Flower Moon.
Yeah, Killers of the Flower Moon. I've read the book. Yeah. It's a really great book.
Okay, so you've read the book. That is a fantastic book.
Sean, he's also an author. He just recently released a book.
Oh, no shit. Oh, congratulations.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wait there. I'll get it out of my drawer here.
Give it a plug.
Do a little do a little ad spot here real
There
quick.
you go.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah,
River
Bones.
Bones, available on Amazon. Western horror. You know,
Yes, yeah.
welcome to the territories. Wonder if you dare. River Bones by Vinnie Greene, Vincent Green, or whatever.
Yes.
Available on Amazon in all formats. Boom. Labor of Love. Second book hopefully coming up pretty soon.
Very
Right,
cool.
there you go. Boom. That's how you do, people. Plug, 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 plug.
You know what? I wasn't going to have mention any sponsors for this podcast, but you know what?
There you
We'll
go.
say we're sponsored by the new book by Vinnie Greene.
There you go. River Bones.
River Bones.
Link in the
Okay.
description after the show.
Nice.
Okay, so all right, man, we've gone a little bit afield of the list here, but I got to ask you a question. I always ask this for new guests on Blurred Lines. The American moon landing in the 1960s, fake or no?
There's lots of reasons to believe it might have been faked. There's a lot of political reasons in terms of why you would fake it. And the Van Allen radiation belt is a big question. So there's lots of things. Like easily you could have said we could create a fake space race where the Soviet Union would think we're actually building all these things that were tremendous cost, and they're going to keep matching us, bankrupting their whole government and their society, and was kind of eventually led to the downfall of communism and like the USSR as it became known after the Soviet Union. So there's lots of benefits of faking a space race. I'd like to pretend, like to believe that we went to the moon because, like, wouldn't that be such a cool thing to do? And I'd like to pretend, like, because I grew up idolizing, everybody grew up idolizing astronauts. Everybody wanted to be an astronaut when they grow up. Everyone would go to the deep reaches of space, you know? And if the moon is not possible, then Mars is impossible. So, like, so I kind of hope that we went to the moon. I'm not sure if we did because there's so many reasons, as I said, to doubt it because of the Van Allen's radiation belt and because of all the upside there is to America pretending that they're spending all this money just to bankrupt the Soviet Union at the time because of the Cold War. So there's lots of reasons to believe it might not have happened, but I really hope it did happen because I'd love to see us go to Mars before I die. You know, that'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's a fantastic answer.
yeah. And
Highly caffeinated.
well, and Jukebox and I have had this discussion multiple times, but the one thing I always point out, the radiation belt is massive. You know, the fact that anybody would argue against that, it's just like, man, you are really disputing hard science there. But the thing I always go back to, and I'm not even talking camera angles and all the other crazy stuff that you know, and the fact that they lost the technology and all this, you know, like we can't go
We
back.
gotta get our homework.
Yeah. It's like, you know, when Ron Howard came back to him, like, can you guys show me all the stuff so we can be accurate in the film? They're like, yeah, we'll be right back. And like, we Hillary Clintoned everything.
Oh, we recorded over with my daughter's dance recital.
I was just about to say something like that.
Like, the excuses are terrible. You're supposed to be the smartest people in the world now, so come up with better excuses. Like, come
This is
on.
Kim's karaoke. What? So, but here's something to consider. I ask you a question. So, the rockets on the landers, or the lander singular, was supposed to have a power of 10,000 foot-pounds of thrust. Right now, if you've got this stationary, you know, object out in space called the moon, that is not a big metal orb, but in fact a giant round rock, and it just has space dust all over it. Where is the blast crater underneath the lander? If nothing else proves it to you, and you've got 10,000 pounds of thrust beneath the lander that is dropping onto the moon's surface, and they would have to do massive calculations to make sure that the profile of the feet alone would be wide enough to be away from that crater or be outside that crater so it didn't drop down inside. So that would be my thing that I would present to you as a question. Where's the blast crater?
Yeah, and there's like the thing is, like, why haven't they gone back since the 70s or whatever? When was the last moon mission? In the 70s, wasn't it? Like there's 12 missions altogether, 27 astronauts or something, or 9 missions and 27 astronauts. Three people per mission or something, wasn't it? One person stayed up in orbit and 2 people went down on the lander each time or something along those lines. So like
Mhm.
why haven't we gone back and said where is the technology? Why do we have to ramp up towards it? Like these are the things that I have to like look at, because like if we can do all these things in terms of like intercontinental ballistic missiles and all these things have like advanced, how come the technology in terms of space rocketeering hasn't advanced? I know Elon Musk has advanced, but like not to the terms of like the V2 or whatever Werner von Braun did. Like, you know what I mean? Where
Right.
he said, "Oh, look, we're going to send you to the moon," which is like what million? What? How far is the moon away? Like 3 million miles or something? Is it like or something crazy? It takes like
Yeah.
they said it takes
Hundreds
three
of
days
thousands. Yeah.
hundreds of thousands of miles. So what if we can't, like if we could do it back then, why is it so hard to replicate it now? That's my big question. That's always been my big question. Like,
238,855 miles.
oh, I was
Okay.
fucking way off.
There you go.
I
Well,
was in direction.
That's according to Google. That's
Yeah,
speculation.
yeah.
I'm
Well,
like,
here's
this
the
moon's
thing,
looking
though.
kind of Venusy here.
I think, did we go east instead of west? But you bring up a big name in that arena, right? Which is Werner von Braun. But
Mm,
here's another thing: people
Nazi.
speculated that he knew that we didn't go to the moon, and that he was speculated that he is a flat earther, because if you look at, there is a biblical quote on his headstone
Mm.
that has to deal with that, or has to do with
Yeah,
that.
I remembered.
So there, it's just, there's so, if it was just like one thing, it was just the one thing. Let's say the or blast crater, right? You know, it'd be like, you know what? Maybe the surface, it was just too hard to blow, stuff out of the way. Blah blah blah. Okay, I could. But if it, when you have this aggregation of so many things, and the not going back is a huge one, dude. I'm
Mm.
talking to a guy in Kansas City and a guy in Ireland on a thing that is like a book that you can unfold, right?
Yeah.
It's insane what we're able to do right now. And you're telling me that we can't just take a little spicy jaunt up to the moon
The
and
things that we're
come
doing
back?
to ourselves here on Earth with the technology that we have, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. So,
Like the advancements in technology between the 70s and 2025 for everything in every aspect of technology has advanced tenfold, 20-fold, 30-fold. Why haven't we been able to replicate that technology?
Hmm.
You know,
100%.
it's crazy. But even if Werner von Braun did lie about the moon landing, it's probably not the worst thing he's ever done.
That is an excellent point, my friend. Oh my gosh. That's one of those, if you know, you know. So
Right.
that's
Yeah,
a whole other
he
podcast.
sent out love a lot. You know, like Elon Musk sending out love. He was
Uh-huh.
sending out love a lot, like a lot.
That's
Oh
awesome.
man, that's good
Okay.
stuff.
All right, so we know where we stand with that. So, let me. All right, so let me start here with a current controversy. The NFL in the United States of America, American football, which I would say is the right football, and you guys have soccer, but for some reason you call it football.
Because you played with your feet.
I know, I know, I know,
He kicked the
but
ball with your feet.
well, you can hit
It's
it
in
with
the
your head
name.
too. Thank you. But here's a question I have for you, because there is a massive push to basically pull the veil back from the NFL, and people saying that it's scripted. Like, you even have ex players, let's see, Dexter Lawrence and Arian Foster, that have said it's scripted. They hand us a script at the beginning of the season. And if you look at how the NFL is legally listed in as a business, it's listed as an entertainment company, not as a
Yeah,
sports
I knew that.
thing. Right. So my question is, and this may not apply to European football, but my question
What's
is,
that?
you guys
I don't know
have
what that
do,
is.
well, do you guys have rumors of it basically being scripted over there? Like Manchester United, they're supposed to win, and this guy fell down, and you know what I mean? Like, are there rumors of it being faked over there and scripted where one team is supposed to win and the other's not, or is it just we beat the shit out of each other and kick a ball around the field until somebody has more points?
No, it's like there's a thing in football now called VAR, video assistant referee. So if the referee on the field does miss a call, there's people watching the match in a room and they're on monitors and they'll alert the referee of a possible offside or a goal decision or a penalty or whatever. So there is conspiracies around that to say that like they can use the video assistant referee to influence results, and even with the technology they've had, they've proven to have made really bad decisions, and lots of errors still occur, even though the whole invention really of the VAR was to prevent any more errors because of the money that's involved in football. That's so costly to these clubs because certain teams have been relegated, and if you get relegated from the Premier League, in terms of loss of revenue, can be hundreds of millions, over the course of a few years by the time you receive promotion again. So that's the whole reason it was created, to prevent these kind of like massive mistakes. But like there has been plenty of mistakes, and it has influenced title races, and it's influenced big events and big picture, like big matches and stuff like that. So there is conspiracies around that. Football federations can, pretty much influence matches now more so than they ever could by using the video assistant referee to dictate what has been seen on and off the field and what calls can be spotted and what calls are like, ignored or whatever.
Man, that's fascinating because now, God, there's all kinds of things that could have, like they could hack it to make it look a certain way, or you could have people getting bribed because we have something like that here. I mean, not just the fact that they say that the NFL is scripted, but that referees have been bribing accusations have been around for years. But it seems, especially the last couple of years with the Kansas City Chiefs, that if you even sneezed in the direction of Mahomes, that you just got penalized like mad, right?
Mm, I've
And
heard
the
about that.
Okay, right. So the thing that was pretty interesting about this, and I'll ask you guys what you think about it, is the rumors about the NFL being scripted became more and more prevalent because so many of these conspiracy things are getting proven to be true. Stuff about COVID, stuff about that the government's uncovering all the waste and everything that they said for years, you know, didn't exist. And it's like, wow, all this stuff does exist, and all these conspiracies are coming true, right? And so with all of the things that are coming to light and truth coming out, one of the theories that has cropped up is that the Chiefs losing this year at the Super Bowl was scripted to happen because so many people were talking about the scripted thing happening and the Chiefs were going to win the third one. And then Travis Kelsey was going to propose to Taylor Swift after the thing. Like, they even had a score of 29-26 with the Chiefs winning. Like, it was everywhere. And when you saw Mahomes and Kelsey's face when they were coming out on the field and at the pregame stuff, they both just looked downtrodden. Did not look happy. Did not look like they were playing a Super Bowl. They both looked sad, pissed, upset the whole time they were on the field. And then you see this insane separation of the score, 0-6, 0 to this, 0 to this, and and like all of a sudden 0-34. And then finally, when they hit 40 points, then Mahomes is just tossing all of these things, and you're looking at it going, he could have been doing that the whole time. Like, I get
Yep,
the
the
feel,
last quarter.
yeah, when he was just dropping dimes, boom, just perfect shot in the mid zone and scoring, and they came up 22 points. So the theory is, and then I'll let you guys run with this, is that they switched it up and told the Chiefs, like, you will not win this. Like, you were supposed to, but you're not going to win this, because if this you guys win, then this whole scripted thing is going to keep perpetuating itself, and we're going to fucking lose billions, right?
Right. Well, yeah, and actually, that's conversations that I had before too. Is that like, because I'm not like super involved into sports, anyways. I wasn't really caring whether we won or lost, and I'm from Kansas City, but like we won 2 in a row. We've been in what 3 out of the last 5, or was this 4 out of 5 now of the last
Mm.
Yeah.
few Super Bowls? So it just wouldn't make sense. Obviously, the concept of everything being scripted, if it wasn't, um, then everybody's going to believe it is now because we've just done it so many times. So in order to alleviate that, even if it is being scripted, make sure they lose so that people aren't like, I don't know, just starting to veer away from NFL.
I don't think it's scripted because Tom Brady wouldn't have played for what 20 seasons if
Mhm.
it was scripted. Because if they had this whole thing where he was going to be the All American hero that was going to win all these different Super Bowls, they would have let him do it in way less time. You know what I
Justin
mean? So
says no. He's running away. Look at this. He's running away.
yeah, I don't think it's scripted, to be honest with you. I think people like within the game cheat, like Deflategate and all these things that I've heard in the past with the New England Patriots, and
Mhm.
like I think that like that happens in every sport where they push the boundaries, the competitive, like the competitive nature of it. Like the people in it, like it happened in England too, where a team was recording other teams' training sessions, sending scouts to like look at their training sessions incognito, stuff like this. Like it happens, like like people cheat, like within teams and within organizations. But even though I think federations are inherently corrupt, like most political governments and structures, because absolute power corrupts absolutely, or whatever that old adage is. So like I think there is corruption, but I don't think it's scripted. I honestly don't. I think they can maybe influence score lines for betting things like they did in the basketball thing, and that happened in football in England as well. Like so, I think that can happen. Like corruption, bribery, like all these things can happen in any large scale organization, like the NFL, the NBA, or the Major League Baseball. Like so, nobody ever calls that the MLB. Do you ever notice that? Like it's the NBA, NFL, and then they say Major League Baseball. No one ever, no one ever says MLB. It just like dawned on me.
Well,
Like
yeah,
that's the only reason I stopped. I was like, yeah, wait, there's not an acronym for
dude, it's not scripted.
that.
No, I actually, I'm right there with Justin though. I think that and actually Vinny too. Like I think if corruption for sure because of all the money that's on the line,
Mhm.
Of course.
but and think about all the referees that have had death threats against them and stuff like that over this stuff. So I mean,
Mm.
I definitely believe corruption 100%. I think scripted might be a little far fetched, but a lot of people believe it because they talk about it.
Yeah. And it's probably listed as an entertainment organization for tax reasons. It's usually like if you see something weird like that, it's usually because they're getting tax benefits. Like that's what I think. I wouldn't, you know what I mean. I bet you any money there's some sort of tax benefit to be listed as an entertainment business instead of a
Mhm.
sports organization or something.
It'll be interesting in 100 years if we're having this conversation now, but 100 years from now, if the world is still intact. All right, let's just say now, cheater, cheater. Look, we're not talking about Tom Brady. It's okay.
Did you know that Nickelodeon actually for the last year's Super Bowl did a Toy Story themed Super Bowl? So they
Really?
like for the kids. So there it was all like visual editing and graphics thrown over the field so that the
No,
kids could enjoy it too.
that's cool. I mean, talk about throwing propaganda to our youth to get them hooked. Yeah, right. You know, actually, I'm gonna do a little propaganda test. I don't know if this works for you being Irish. I don't know if this played over there, but Vinny, let me ask you first. What have you heard is the most important meal of the day?
Breakfast.
Ah, there you go. What about you, Jukebox?
Same.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, you know that was a form of propaganda that started here in the states back in the early 1900s. There was a bunch
Kellogg's.
of there was a bunch of old rich dudes that had pork bellies. You know, you're talking bacon, breakfast goods, all that kind of shit, and they just weren't selling them because that's not how Americans basically live. Like they would get up, they might have a biscuit or two, and they would get off to work, and then their big meal, like for the first meal of the day, would be lunch. And these guys weren't making money, so they hired a brilliant propagandist, and he came up with this idea and worked with National Institutes of Health and things to create the food pyramid and whatnot. And this whole breakfast is the most important meal of the day came out. And it's 2025 and we're still saying it. So this is why, anything that comes down from media, schools, whatever, I question everything.
I mean, if I eat breakfast, it just puts me on the shitter within 30 minutes.
Like if I'm not late for work, I get breakfast, but usually I'm like, I'll eat at lunchtime. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Like who
But
gets to
it's
eat
it's
breakfast anymore?
yeah, man. But it's crazy because like even 18-year-olds, like I teach college Monday through Wednesday, and even 18-year-olds, I ask them that same question, and they all say the same thing. Oh yeah, breakfast. It's like really.
So, what is the most important meal of the day?
Dinner.
Literally, the most important meal of the day is should be six smaller meals that you have throughout the day. You shouldn't be smashing like one massive meal. You should be having six smaller meals or having a couple meals and then fasting. Humans are built for fasting because if you go back to the cave person days, it was feast or famine, and our bodies react to that and go into certain modes of healing, storage, and everything else. Justin, oh God.
That's good.
But you know what? The food pyramid is scripted too, Justin.
Yeah.
It's actually upside down. But all right, let's get off the
Besides the point.
last thing with the NFL. I've got a dad joke for you, and I'm sure I didn't come up with this originally. Do you know why Travis Kelsey's clothes always look terrible? Because
No.
he's got a shitty tailor.
Oh my god.
I wish. This is TMI, bro.
All right.
That's good. Anyways.
Okay. So, all right. This is kind of a deep question for you, Vinny. And this is something that's on my mind quite a bit. American mainstream media is completely jacked up. I mean, it just is. But I assume it is all over the world too. But one thing Jukebox and I were talking about before this whole podcast started was we will have media blackouts on certain things that happen here in this country, but yet I'll turn on the BBC and they'll have full reporting on it. And one of the things that we've been seeing bits and pieces on, but we don't have any boots on the ground to know this, is there are rumors that there's an immigration crisis in Ireland and things are getting really bad there. And hearing about it from certain sources here, but nothing has really been verified. And so we don't know what's going on. And I don't know if from like where you're at, you're seeing it over there, like things have been getting bad, or if it's just like, no, everything's pristine here. They're blowing it out of proportion. Because I don't trust any of the dude. I was in media. I wrote for a news station and I worked for a newspaper as the managing editor. And I saw so much corruption from like my bosses and from the towns that I was reporting on. So I don't trust any of them. So just if you could give us like some perspective from where you're at.
Yeah, so like over the past 10, 15 years, Western Europe has seen a massive uptick in immigration and like illegal and legal because of wars. Like, you have the conflicts in Syria and stuff like that. You had an influx of people coming into Turkey, which disseminated throughout Western Europe then as they like, migrated because of displacement, not through their own fault. And then you had conflicts like the war in Ukraine with Russia, where you had lots of people seeking political asylum and refugees. Like it's there, there is certain elements. Like I know in England, they're having a hard time with lots of criminal elements coming over from Eastern European countries like Armenia and places, and I think Albania as well. Or like, but like the thing is, the problem is vetting. How you like even America had this issue with people coming across the southern border. Vetting is like it's not immigration is not the issue. Is how to control who becomes like who immigrates into your country, and that's the major issue. Is because nobody in Ukraine wanted the war with Russia. It's not their fault that they become political asylums or refugees and they have to be pushed out of their homeland into other parts of the world. Like, it's not their fault. And the same in places like Syria, like when you have Bashar al-Assad, I think that's his name, I think. And like when you have people like him, like attacking places, and you have people that are displaced and they have no, like, you have this thing of, do I stay and fight or do I flee? So like you're more than likely you're going to die in places like Syria and in Ukraine. If you're just a civilian, you're going to die. Like unless you're trained or you can be trained, you're going to die. It's simple as that. So like it's not their fault, but there has been a massive uptick in immigration. But that's the thing: when you're a part of the European Union, it's open borders. And look at Ireland's history. Like we have to look at our own history. We went out because of the famine, because of the British persecution. We went out to all corners of the world, like in Argentina, the United States, Canada, America, like or Britain as well. Like we went all across the world. So we can't say to people we're going to close our borders to all these people after so many countries opened their borders to us, even though in lots of these countries we were treated like second class or third class citizens and we had to work from the ground up, whereas we weren't given some of the rights that these other immigrants have. But maybe we should look at our own history and say we shouldn't treat people how we were treated. We should treat people how we want to be treated. And like so, if we can open our borders and let these people in, it's all about control and vetting, in my opinion. I have no problem. Like I work with lots of people that are not Irish, and they're some of the nicest people I've ever met. Some of the hardest working people I've ever met. They've taught me how to work harder. Like the past few years that I worked with them, they taught me how to buckle down, how to not complain, how to have fun while you're working. And that is a different mentality. It's like Joey Diaz, Coco Diaz, and Joe Rogan talks about the immigrant mentality. Like, you know what I mean? And if you can learn from immigrants, you can learn a lot about yourself and how to change yourself. Because how ballsy is it to leave like a country, uproot your whole life and move across? You might not know the language, you might not know the culture. So they're taking a risk. So I have no issues with immigration. I have a big issue with vetting because a lot of the time I don't want to throw a quote Donald Trump. He's like, "We're not getting the best people," but you know what I mean. Like, so like that's just the thing. Like, you have to not control just immigration. You have to control vetting. If you can really understand what kind of people are coming to your country, whether or not they're violent or mentally like unstable or whatever, that's the thing I'd control. Not immigration, just vetting. You have to just figure out who is in your country and keep track of them because like
Well, and
there
see
is a
that a
way
big
of
part
doing
of
it.
that, though, a big part of what's been happening here in the last not I don't know year at least, they've been bringing busloads of immigrants into these
Mm.
major cities here, and I've seen at least 3 or 4 times right here down the street from me where they're dropping them off, and it's happening everywhere. I know it is, and they're literally just lining up outside the bus and just getting handed their luggage, and then the bus drives off.
Yeah. But is that any different than like when all the people were carted over from like Europe to America by ships back in the day? Like it's not different. It's
Yeah,
just
but
like
see,
the
they
means
actually
is
went.
different.
But see, those ships went through a process.
Mm.
Hey, they hit Ellis Island, or whatever. They had to be checked in and processed. Where as of now, they're literally just being forced onto these major cities, and this isn't against the people that are coming. It's against the fact that it shouldn't be going the way it is.
Yeah, kind of
And
like in back in the 80s with the Mariana boat lift from Fidel Castro, when he emptied these sanatoriums and these penitentiaries onto American shores, pretty much. When pretty much, like all the political asylums and the refugees, but they were leaving Cuba because of the war there or because of persecution, he went and just like emptied out his prisons and his mental hospitals and all this. Like, because that's the thing. Like, immigration is a political tool. Like if you want to pretty much like if you're in control of a country, you're a fascist dictator or whatever, you can get rid of all your enemies and you can get rid of all the people that are going to go against you and just dump them on another country. And then you can do what Castro did and get rid of like pretty much all the dregs of society and just like dump them in another country. And look at the way crime skyrocketed in the 80s in places like Miami and New York because of it.
Yeah, and but that's what it, and like you said, it's a political tool. It, it's unfortunate because people are trying to, they're yelling, "Hey, remember the human element," and um, well, I think the majority of people don't disagree with that. It's when you step back and go, you know what? most of the history of this country is bullshit. Most of your motivations are bullshit. We have been learning more and more, like while this great awakening is happening, that your motives aren't altruistic. So now it's like, why do you have just this mass? And this is all over the world. These massive open borders bringing all these folks in, and what's the motivation? And so then that's when it becomes conspiratorial, where it's just like, what is going on here? Because this isn't a natural thing that is happening. Like, generally, countries have sovereignty and borders and things like that. And like you said, you vet them, they come in, they become citizens, and you move on with your lives, and your country grows because of it. But then when you just like pull the latch back and let the gate swing open and all of it, it's like, why would that happen? What would be the motivation for having this kind of policy that doesn't have any real benefit for either side? Because it doesn't benefit the country that they're coming to, and it doesn't benefit the people that are coming over, because as JG said, they're just there with their suitcases on the corner. It's like, okay, all right. It's like, what now?
I wonder if that Chinese restaurant needs some cooks.
Yeah. Seriously, dude. It's I mean, it's man, it's a crazy problem. So okay, thank you for the kind of on the ground vision of that, because there's just so much that is floating around here. Like I saw a report the other day of an Irish mom, and she was like crying outside of a school because she was like, my daughter is in there, and like she is the only Irish child. Everybody else in there, nobody speaks English, and it's just a madhouse. And so that's some of the stuff we're seeing.
I work with a lady who's a Czechoslovakian, and very sweet, very nice. And she doesn't have American TV at home. She's got Wi-Fi, so she can watch her Russian and Czechoslovakian news.
Okay.
And she said the reason why she does that is because there's a lot of things that our news hides from us.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I wanted to ask that question of Mr. Greene here.
Yeah, but the major issue in Ireland isn't immigration; it's housing. Like the problem, we have a housing crisis in this country. There's not enough houses for families, and there's a massive increase of homelessness. And the first time in my life that I've seen a massive increase of homelessness in the past 10, 15 years in this country. When I was a kid, you would never see a homeless person. You would hardly ever see a homeless person, and now you see them all over, especially in our major cities like Dublin and Limerick and Cork and places like this. So, that's the major issue in Ireland.
Do you guys have
but
like here we have Section 8 housing? I mean, do you guys have like housing assistant kind of projects there?
there is projects like HAP, so you can get housing from the council if you're unemployed for a long time, or but the problem is they're not, these things aren't offered really to low income families or people, if you have a minimum wage job or a mid-level job, I think that's the kind of people that should get the housing from the council and the assistance from the government, not unemployed people, because why would you reward someone for not having a job? That makes no sense to me. So why would you want to have a job if you're going to get all the benefits for not having a job?
Right.
Instead, you have these people out there that are working 9, 10, 12-hour shifts like me. Like I've been out there, I've done 10, 12-hour shifts, and I do that. But I can avail of housing from my council, but yeah, an asylum seeker can, a refugee can, an unemployed person can. So I'm punished for actually doing something with myself as an Irish citizen. I'm born and raised here. I'm 37 years of age. I've lived every day of my life almost here. So why is it like, so that's the issue in Ireland. It's the reason people have an issue with immigration is a lot of people are given housing that are asylum seekers or refugees. Like there was a show I seen recently where there was an Irish woman, she's been homeless for the last 2.5 years, been shuttled around from group house to group house with her small young family, and right beside her there was an immigrant that was after being given their forever home, as she described it, from the government. And you had an Irish citizen born and reared here, and that's where the contempt comes from in this country. Housing's a huge issue, and who gets allocated these houses, when, why, and how. And a lot of the times, we often say this as a disadvantage to be Irish in Ireland, and that's the major issue.
And you'll hear the same thing echoed here too. So
Yep.
that's I mean, it's a tough fight. We're obviously not going to solve it during this podcast. It's
We
good to
should
hear.
actually. You want to talk about blowing up on social media? Let's
Do I should I show everybody my heart?
No, no.
Yeah,
Kalima.
Kalima, that'd be safer. All right, you know what? Let's switch subjects because this is actually something that Jukebox, you did a little bit of research for us.
I did. Which one?
Let's talk about the mystery fog.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
the fake
Now,
fog.
I'm going to say the precursor to this mystery fog was the mystery fire that came out of Canada, the wildfires in Canada, about a year and a half ago, whatever it was, that were dumping chemical smoke across most of the top of the United States when we saw like the orange skies in New York and everything. And
Oh, yes.
the thing I can tell you from that is growing up in the country, man, we burned tree stumps and all kinds of stuff. I mean, clearing ditches and burning, to control fields and everything. I've smelled most kinds of fire out in the country. And the smoke that came down was vastly um, populated with chemical notes, right? It was just acrid. It was like burning electrical tape. And then they found videos from satellite videos where they showed those fires mysteriously all started at the same time, right?
Like the
Across,
Californian wildfires.
oh, yeah. Well, California, they're talking about that being a direct energy weapon, just like Malibu was.
I got some stuff for that too.
Well, what's interesting is the Chinese people, and their government, who knows what to believe about that government. But like they have been painting the tops of their houses in the villages that certain type of blue that doesn't get burned by lasers.
Yeah.
Why would they be doing that all over their country if there wasn't some sort of validity to this thing? And then you look at the Malibu fire and the California fire and that the blue things.
The Biden quote. Do you remember about the blue houses not being able to burn?
Dude.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. He said something like basically the quiet thing you weren't supposed to say, and it was like the blue buildings weren't getting burned. And
Good old Sleepy Joe.
yeah, just letting it slip. All right. Well, the reason I bring this up, and we can circle back to the DEWs, but this is interesting because I saw again satellite video from the Gulf of America, and just that's what it's called now, everybody. So don't yell at me.
Is it really called that now? Yeah, did he
It is
actually change
really
it?
called that now.
Legally?
It is
He changed
legally
it.
called that now. And it was a chess move too. Everybody thinks it's a pro-America thing. It's like, no, they weren't allowed to drill in the Gulf of Mexico. That's where all the moratoriums were for the energy. So Trump said, you know what? We're going to call it the Gulf of America. Nothing in the paperwork says we can't drill in the Gulf of America. Checkmate, dude.
We're living in a simulation.
Do you want me to share one of these fog clips I got?
Yeah, please do. Please do. This fog has been.
Let's see what we can do here.
We got that fake ass fog rolling in. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. There's absolutely no reason for there to be fog rolling in this time of day. Anybody else getting the weird fog? I'm not going outside. I'm not breathing that shit in. No, thank you.
It's funny because a lot of people, like a lot of the things that people are reporting about this fog is that it has a smell, and it doesn't smell like it should. It's not like that dewy kind of weird humidity kind of smell. It's like some sort of a chemical smell.
Well, I've got actually, before you do your next clip, I'll read. So let me read this. This is some of the stuff I pulled up. All right. So this is an article coming out of Florida. It says the fog. Residents across the United States, Canada, and the UK have reported sightings of mysterious dense fog accompanied by a burning chemical-like smell. Videos posted online show fog developing in several communities, sparking comparisons to similar events last year when the thick fog affected over 70 million people in the United States and Mexico. A Florida resident told this website last month that she stopped at a gas station for about 10 minutes and began feeling ill. Within about an hour, I kept sneezing over and over for about 3 hours, and my eyes were really puffy, she said. I got very warm, and I felt like I had a fever, and my stomach was cramping. And that's one of a multitude of reports that whenever the fog would come around, that people would feel sick, right? And I don't know if you have a clip jukebox of the particulates that people would see at nighttime when they would
Uh,
take a
I,
flashlight.
I saw, I did, but I didn't use it because in my opinion, I'm not sure how I felt about it because I've seen that kind of stuff from like a weird mist. So like at night with the lighting, it doesn't really show the fog. It just shows like it almost looks like a mist.
Yeah,
If you want, I can get one when we're talking. If you want,
there were some that I would look at, and again, growing up
I'll
in the
get
country,
one.
seeing all different types of fog and things. You're like, that looks like regular fog. But there were some that the particulate matter was so thick, it looked like. Do you ever see? Do you guys remember when we were kids, like those jelly balls that had like the goo inside of them with like glitter, and you would squish them between your fingers, and the glitter would all move around. It was thick and soupy like that, where just the particulates were so thick, it almost looked like insects, swarms.
Mm.
Have you guys? I mean, for one, have you had that fog where you're at, Vinny? And two, have you guys been reporting on it at all?
I know we talked
We
about it the other day on one of my shows. I don't know if it was on here or not, but we were talking about it on another show recently.
we we've had a lot of fog in the past few months, and we've had a lot of snow as well, which is not often common in Ireland. Like Ireland's more of a rainy kind of place than snow. We've had a lot of fog, like this past winter, a lot of snow. We had lots of snowstorms. We had one of the worst hurricane seasons in history in Ireland. Like recently, Storm Ewan, that just like a few weeks ago, that literally knocked down our entire power grid pretty much around the country for a few days for lots of people. Some people still out of power 11 days after or whatever. But like there has been lots of fog. There has been there is a video circulating online of a lady in Ireland where she talks about how the fog looks different, and she shows these large particulates. Is that the word you used? Where you can kind of see
Yep.
like the way the fog is not cloud like, it's more like a weird like haze of
I'm
like
uploading it
different
right now.
substances and stuff. So like it is strange, like because we know they can alter the weather. We have seen that with the likes of cloud seeding and silver nitrate
Proven.
that they pump. Sorry.
No, I said proven, 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's proven. Yeah, and like they do it like all over the world still. They've been doing it since like the Vietnamese War. Like so, I just thought, do you know, was it Stripes where Bill Murray goes 11-1? We're 11-1.
Well, it actually,
um,
I do actually want to share this. Let's share this real quick while I'm uploading this. Um, let's see here. It says that artificial fog is a dense vapor that looks like fog or smoke created by heating a fluid until it turns to vapor. It's used in entertainment, photography, training, and some military applications.
like dry ice.
Well, yeah, they used to have. They've been doing that since like World War II. Did you ever see those old videos where they would have the planes fly along in the ocean, and they would drop a literal smoke curtain,
Mm.
so it would obscure the movements of the ships. Like they've had this technology for a while. But when you're getting into talking about HARP and other things, I mean, there was that article that came out a few years ago where Dubai was getting just gutter stomped by hurricane-like weather and rain and flooding and everything, and they said, "Well, we were cloud seeding and trying to make rain happen, and we kind of overdid it." They just openly admitted it.
Right.
Mm.
But the thing with this fog, the reason I brought up the stuff with the smoke in Canada is that there were satellite images of 3 points in the Gulf of America where just out in the middle of the water, these
All right, I got
massive
this.
plumes were
Yeah.
just floating out from these spots in the middle of the Gulf.
You want to see those little particle things?
Yeah, absolutely. Please.
Here we go. I got it. Give me.
Yeah, because right now all they can see is my big face, and that nobody knows.
Yes, this is like the one I saw.
Yeah. See, dude, come on, man. Like that looks like almost a swarm of insects around a light
And
at night
I
by
I
you.
got something on that too. I found a clip that actually kind of plays into this. Have you guys heard of smart dust?
Okay, I've seen a few things on the
All right.
smart dust,
Let
and this
me.
is shit.
I'm about to. I'm gonna play this real quick.
Damn.
Where is it at here?
See, Vinny, I told you this is going to be all over the damn place.
May soon make it possible to keep track of anything, anywhere.
It's hard to hear though.
including you.
Sorry. The volume's all the way up.
Smart dust originated with DARPA back in the 90s. This powder-sized chip is something called the Mu chip from Hitachi. It's the smallest commercially available RFID system in the world. You can literally scatter this stuff like dust or embed it into a sheet of paper. It doesn't require a battery. Flecks of computing power settling on your skin, ingested, monitoring you inside and out.
The nanoparticles are designed to go under the radar of the immune system, and so they are undetected in the body.
We have computing everywhere, we have connectivity everywhere, we have infrastructure that can compute those with new capabilities like AI.
If you have enough data and you have enough computing power, you can understand people better than they understand themselves, and then you can manipulate them in ways which were previously impossible.
Isn't that crazy? I stumbled on this. I'm like, what?
Use technology to modify our bodies, sometimes in radical ways to make them stronger, faster, and better.
Yeah, this is all to make us better and stronger and faster, like the $6 million man.
I stumbled on that and I was like, oh, that's interesting.
What a crock of shit, dude. Please.
I don't know. I mean, the technology with nanobots and everything, I wouldn't be surprised if I'm not saying that that's what this fog is, but I do think it is there's so much of it going around right now and everywhere, because I'm hearing about it from people. I mean, as this network's grown, I've met people like Vinny and people all over the place that have talked about this kind of stuff recently.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, you're talking about Gates, another unelected person who had massive, influence on this country over the last how many years, dropping genetically modified mosquito populations over Florida. And they've got videos of the helicopters just dumping them out. All right.
What?
And
Really?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, and the cognitive dissonance that people that see this stuff, and they're like, "Oh no, that's so they can put vitamin C in the people in Florida." Okay,
It's going to take something stronger than a mosquito.
That's good.
but it just feels like, and I want to know what your guys' opinion is on this. Over the last, because I remember when I was a teenager and how the world felt and how things felt. And my wife and I have talked about this ad nauseum. And Jukebox, you and I have talked about this, how the world just felt different. It's not because we're adults now and we have to suffer the slings and arrows of being adults in adulthood. Like the world just feels different. And it just seems like over the last probably 8 years or so, like all of this evil, almost like Dr. Evil, manipulative shit, Klaus von Schwab, whatever his fucking name is. Like all of these villains that we would see in cartoons when we were kids, all this shit is like happening in real time now.
Yep.
And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Are we in some sort of theological end times? I mean, what is your guys' position on this?
I think that as humanity as an existence is progressing, even with technology, we're learning a lot of great things, but the problem is that we have a lot of powerful hands controlling it. So for everything that can be positive with it, there's someone out there figuring out a way to utilize it in a negative way. Like we talked about, like the fake suns and being able to kind of alter, gardens and vegetables and produce and stuff like that. Like there's too much technology that has patents that have existed since the 60s and 70s that could have to be well advanced from when it was first patented,
Mhm.
that can be utilized in the wrong hands to either cause a massive influx in produce and vegetables and eggs. Right now is a crisis, and
Oh.
it would be easy to play off if you can alter something to cause it to happen.
Right. We have the technology to put, you know, vaccines, as you say, into produce and things. But yet, as Vinny stated, we can't get back to the moon.
Mm.
Well,
Crazy.
and I'm sure like the food in Ireland is probably a lot more pure than the food that we have here.
1000%.
Guaranteed.
Like, yeah,
Ooh.
we're an agrarian society. Like,
Everybody talks about it. People who go outside the country or people that visit here are always talking about how different our food tastes.
Well,
Like,
and they
well,
keep
you're trying to.
go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Vinny.
I was just going to say, you're trying to feed 300 million people or whatever your population is, over 300 million people. You're going to have to cut some corners. Like, it's just the way it is. Like, it's industrialization. Like, it's on a massive scale. It's easy for me to go and say, oh, yeah, the food quality in Ireland's better. Yeah, well, we have a population of 6 or 7 million people or whatever at the top end. You have a population of 300 and odd million people. Was it like over 300 million people in America? So in terms of logistics, like, it's not comparable. Like, it's a lot easier to have quality over quantity in Ireland when you have a far smaller population, even with immigrants and non-nationals or whatever. But when you're looking at countries like China, like America, Pakistan, like, or India, like countries with these huge, enormous populations, if you're going to have an industrialized food source, corners are going to get cut. It's inevitable.
Well, I 100% agree with you, but it's crazy because if you look at the ingredients in our food back in like the mid 1980s, and I realize that's like almost 40 years ago. Okay, I get it, but and we still
Don't
had
remind me.
but we had population hundreds of millions, right? Back then, and your ingredient list for something as simple as mayonnaise, right, was like three or four ingredients. But if you and they, I see these comparisons all the time. If you look at the same jar of mayonnaise now, the ingredients list is like this with chemicals where you're just like, why the fuck are you putting? It was fine back then. Why are you doing this now?
And it's mayonnaise, so who cares?
Yeah, but you
Yeah.
see, and like I was just performing in Canada, and my wife was with me, and we went into a little market, and all of the food had labeling on it that you could see like very small ingredient lists, but if something was from America, it had like warning stickers on it, like no bullshit. And she pointed it out to me. She's like, "Did you see this?" And I can tell you, when I was up there, everything I was eating, it felt cleaner, it felt healthier. Um, and I hear so all the time, somebody travels to Ireland, somebody travels to Italy, places like that, and they'll eat fucking just pasta and all kinds of stuff, and they'll lose like 30 pounds.
Like, but we have an American section in the place I work, and milk duds. Like, I bought a pack of milk duds, and I'm like, oh, these are incredible. I bought another pack, and then I checked the caloric intake of milk duds. And it was like my recommended daily allowance for everything almost. And this is like a pack of sweets. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's crazy. Like, And I was like, whoa, calm down, milk duds. Like, whoa, why you so sugar? Like, I was like, I can understand why you're so delicious, but like, like,
Well,
but
I'm
yeah,
like,
incredible.
so, and here's so you said like a pack of sweets, like, so if you had something over there called wee milk duds, all right, that you guys make versus our milk duds, the is the difference in, because I hear like American food, the flavor is just like insanely sweet or insanely salty. Like everything is times 10, whereas like, the stuff that you guys manufacture is not.
Your cereal is far sweeter than ours. Your chocolate is far less of quality. Like Hershey and all these, they don't compare to Cadbury's or Lind, like the Swiss company Lind, or in my opinion, the British company Cadbury's, which I think they might have sold to another country, like a foreign country. But like the quality of chocolate over here is far superior, in my opinion, to your quality chocolate. Like I love Reese's, like Reese's peanut butter cups. I love them, and I like Hershey Kisses or whatever. But the quality of American chocolate in comparison to European chocolate, it's just not there. Like your cereal is ridiculously sweet for something that's supposed to be for children. Like it's crazy. Like most cereal over here is like it might be a Weetabix, or like some people would add sugar to them, but like usually the sugar is not really contained in the cereal. It's added by people that are idiots, you'll get people who are like they'll get like frosted flakes in Ireland and then they'll add sugar to them. I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Just like,
Right.
bro, why like why do you want diabetes so badly? Like, so, you know what I mean? Like, so, like, but yeah, so our diets don't consist as much of sugar as yours. Like, and we don't have high fructose corn syrup. It's not really a commonplace thing in Europe. That's why Coca Cola over here tastes completely different than Coca Cola in the States.
I also heard
Um,
that like honey, even honey here is different than honey anywhere else because they add like cornstarch and other chemicals to the honey.
yeah,
Yeah,
like that's a major issue in America though, because it's industrialized. You have to feed so many people, and it's so competitive over there. You have to make your product as addictive as possible, so you get the return customer.
and there you go. They
Yeah.
and that's it. It's the addiction. It's the getting people hooked on it. And
Mm.
there's all kind of conspiracies where the food system is hooked in with the pharma system because your hospitals and your pharmacies and the drug companies, they don't make money when people are healthy. So if you get us
Mm.
hooked when we're young and all this bullshit and all this sugar, which is at the base of most health problems as it is, then you have patients for life. All we are is walking wallets, man. That's
Mm.
all it is.
Oh, it's like Chris Rock said: "There's no money in the cure. There's only money in the treatment."
Absolutely.
Right.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've talked fog and chocolates and everything, and I'm going to throw one last conspiracy out here, and then we
Yeah.
can call it a day. The TikTok ban. A couple things about the TikTok ban that I've noticed. One, the strategic. I don't believe in coincidences. First of all, and the fact that the TikTok ban happened on the 19th of January, which was one day before the inauguration. Now, I will tell you that the majority of Americans now are not getting their news from mainstream media because nobody has faith anymore in mainstream media here. So, TikTok, other platforms like that, and the fact that it happened right before the inauguration, and this is not pro or anti Trump, it's just the fact the timing is the coincidence is just ridiculous, right?
Mm.
And then when the ban was lifted 2 seconds later, everybody's FYP was just fucked up. Before the ban, man, I was getting all kinds of news on UFOs, motherships, government corruption, everything else. And then it comes back and it's like, look at Wicked. Isn't it just such a fun, movie?
Yeah.
Fuck
Oh my
that movie.
god.
Where's my
What
UFO?
happened
Where's
to
the
I
orbs?
what
think
happened
good.
what happened to Ariana Grande and Wicked? Did it like suck her soul over or something? Like I've never. She looks so emaciated. Like if you
She
seen her
looks like she
before,
weighs like 60 pounds.
yeah,
I,
like she looked like she could like fall through a crack in the wall.
well,
Like.
but you're not wrong. So the reason I think that the reason that they did the whole 12-hour shutdown was just to prove a point because everybody was saying it wasn't going to happen. So they did
Mm.
it. But then the Supreme Court, even before Trump got inaugurated, they're the ones who actually approved the extension, and then Trump just kind of went ahead and signed along with it, with the idea that they have 270 days to come up with a way to give the government, our government, 50% of TikTok. That ain't gonna happen. We're one country. I think TikTok will be fine. It's not gonna happen. So if they don't sell half of the company rights to the U.S., then TikTok's gonna be gone. That's just how it is. They don't need our country. Like, we have caused so many issues for them anyways with all this crap as is, and
Yep.
I don't even think that. Did you see any of the them interviewing the CEO? It made us look like complete dipshits.
Yeah. Well, the whole thing was handled terribly. I don't know how things are in Ireland with TikTok, but I found it incredibly interesting. I mean, the whole debacle of the ban not banning, but when everybody returned and TikTok was turned back on. That's my question. Why were all these things about the orbs, for one? Before the ban, dude, that was all that was on my feed and people's feeds. Everybody was talking about. They were taking videos and all that stuff, and just gone, just absolutely gone. And then people were saying, "Well, go in and block Facebook, go in and block TikTok, go and block Meta." Do so. I did all.
They were doing that because the government that wants it banned is Meta. Meta is a huge part of the reason why the ban was being in place anyway, so that Meta could take back over. That's why Zuckerberg lifted the restrictions on like freedom of speech on Facebook. If you go on there now, you can scroll and eventually find somebody sucking another person off, and you're like, why is this even on my feed? It's on there on some of these groups chats where I promote a lot of these shows. It's all spam. Don't get me wrong, it's all spam. You can go and see.
That's disgusting. Tell me about these pages so I know to avoid them.
I'll send you some. I'll send you links, Vinny. Okay.
Yeah, it's good.
Tell me exactly where they are.
And they're not even like, they're literally, it's like podcast promotion groups that just have large followings. You'll be scrolling, seeing some shows, then out of nowhere, there's just like this ad.
Porn.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so
I was on Instagram the other night, man, and I was going through the reels, and the amount of anti-Semitic rhetoric that was being fed into my feed, it was crazy. Like
and you don't even have to look for it.
Yeah,
if I go on Instagram to search for like somebody to because I use Instagram to reach out to guests for the show. If you, as soon as you hit search, it pops up like suggestions on Instagram, and it's all half naked women, and I don't even look for that stuff. It's just there.
Well, the anti-Semitism thing is incredibly interesting to me because, I never thought after what happened during World War II that we would see this absolute influx of anti-Semitism everywhere. But I mean, it is around the world, in this country, on the college campuses. And the people that are screaming, "You're a Nazi, you're a Nazi, you're a Nazi," like Oprah giving out cars after one of her shows, everybody's a Nazi, are the same ones that are slinging these anti-Semitic epithets left and right. And then when you corner them on it and saying, "Dude, what are you doing?" They're like, "Oh, no, I'm anti-Zionist." So it's like they're trying to justify it by like, no, I'm on this subcategory. Okay. And
Jan, we've been talking about conspiracy theories for the last hour and 15 minutes, so you missed a good chunk of it, but we're not done yet, so you can stay tuned in.
Yeah, well, this would be a weird time to come in on this conversation.
I appreciate you. We appreciate you jumping in.
Born in anti-Semitism. I
do want to touch base on the do though. Before we wrap it up, I know it's late for Vinny, but if we have 10, 15 minutes to talk about the do, man.
I've got no else place to be, bro. Let's do this.
Yeah.
It's like what?
On the what?
The do that you were talking about, the do in California?
Oh, the direct energy weapons. Oh yeah, these motherfuckers. Okay, so there is a massive correlation between where smart cities and smart rails are popping up and these places that are getting burned by these direct energy weapons. And that was another thing that was all over TikTok. It was all over TikTok.
Yep.
The videos of these DEWs cracking off at places all over the planet. And then once the ban lifted, I couldn't find any of them.
Yeah. Let me share a clip here real quick. Just stand there and look pretty, Sean.
One of those pages from Facebook. Here we go. Some dick.
Come on, here we go.
He's gonna
You see that off in the distance, though?
Yeah, up there.
Looks like there's a raid going on. That's just the first clip. I actually have something breaking down kind of what a do is. If you want me to play that as well, let's see.
By all means, man, we're in it. So
here we go.
We're claiming the Maui fires were caused by dew, and I'm not talking about this dew or that dew. I'm talking about these dews. Directed energy weapons use highly focused energy, including lasers, microwaves, particle beams, and sound beams. And while this might sound like something from a sci-fi movie, these are actually a real thing. The The technology was invented in the 60s, and the first time it was actually used as a weapon was in 2002 by the US and Israel. Since then, the technology has come a long way. But is it really possible for these to start the fires we saw in Maui? Let's find out. The theories imply it was either a plane-mounted or satellite-mounted laser. So, what is the max distance for these lasers? Well, based on what I was able to find, the lasers that are used for weapons can travel up to about 12 miles or so, and satellites typically orbit the Earth around 12,000 miles up, with the lowest satellite being at 104 miles up. So I think it's safe to rule out a satellite laser as the culprit. Now let's look at planes. The Boeing YAL-1 was the first laser-equipped airplane tested in 2007. So we do have planes with DEWs, and if the plane was flying low enough, it is theoretically possible for this plane to cause a fire on the ground with its laser.
That's what I got.
Dude, I mean, come on. It's, you can dismiss only so much to the point that any further dismissal of this aggregation of facts becomes, again, the cognitive dissonance where you're just trying to make it make sense in your brain so you'll be okay and you can go get your Starbucks the next morning and not have to worry about anything.
Uh-huh.
Or you can look at the totality of all of it and go, you know what? No, there's some fuckery going on. Right? And like they had that, I think it was in Florida. No.
Jan, you do know how to turn the page or scroll on. I mean, I appreciate you being here.
Well,
I talked to Jan quite a bit. She's been a big follower of the network lately on Facebook, so I appreciate you being here.
No, we love Jan.
Thanks, Jan.
Yeah, stay for the party. So millions of people have died because... No, but there was...
Oh, my God.
I like how you wrapped it up with a giggle.
But the thing where like they had the grid mapping laser that was going over the neighborhoods, and people were taking pictures of it going, what the fuck is this? And it was just like you see this laser line like you would see at like you were saying, the rave, and you would see those lasers on the wall, and it was going sweeping back and forth.
I have a video of that too. Let's see here.
So while he's looking to pull that up, I mean, it's just like there's so many of these things that are happening all over. And again, this goes back to this preponderance of evil shit that is happening. And it's like, what is going on? Hey, here we go.
You can almost see sort of like a light that's hovering over things.
Yeah. And this
That's
is
crazy.
Yeah. And this is not something from a disaster movie in the 1990s. Like, this is happening.
Sound too.
God.
Kind of starting to feel like we're in the bad timeline. That's no.
Well, and
that was actually a clip from War of the Worlds.
Oh, stop. Well, okay, you know what, Vinny? Now that you've said that, this was the last thing that I was going to touch on. So with everything that's going on, and I don't know if you guys have been paying attention to the whole red seas and rivers turning red all over the fucking planet.
They're not.
Dude, look it up. It's crazy. There are entire river systems that are just turning blood red. And that now you're starting to kind of touch on the biblical seven trumpets, end of times kind of shit. The moon is turning red because of oxidation on the surface. And scientists are like, we have no fucking clue why this is happening because there's no oxygen up there. So there should be no oxidation, but it's happening. So the moon's turning red. Rivers and lakes and things all over the planet are turning red. And it's everywhere. In earthquakes, volcanoes, everything else. And all this shit's happening. And my question is, What the fuck?
Polar shift. Maybe
That's
polar shift.
Or they have been recently tracking the pattern of the sun, and it doesn't set at the same angle that it used to. It almost kind of goes at an angle, a little bit more north to south on the other side. It's not directly, across like it used to be. So I do think that there has been a shift in the axis of the Earth, even if it's minuscule.
Well, if it's a
Even Jan
multiversal
said it's a question on everyone's lips. Like, I mean, it's not, it's
Yeah.
There's clearly something happening. I mean, even our weather conditions have been so like extreme lately.
Dude, 10 inches of snow in fucking Louisiana, New Orleans. Are you kidding me?
Right.
This is how disaster movies start. Look at Day After Tomorrow. Look at any of the, whatever disaster movie. It's like, in India, all of a sudden there's snow here. This is crazy. And then, the plot is revealed.
Right.
So
I love that movie. It's so stupid. I love it. Day After Tomorrow.
I did see. I saw an article. I think like 2 or 3 days ago talking about a meteor that, if it continues on its path, will hit the Earth in like 2031.
2032.
2032. So you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, the chances of the probability of it hitting Earth is doubled or something over the past few months or years, something like that. Like, sure, like Trump will probably still be president. He'll figure it out. It's grand. He'll be on his 4th term or something. America will be a hellscape.
Dude, no way. I can't.
Yes,
I'm not sure if you're being sarcastic
100%.
or if you're being honest, but
well, and Vinny should love this because the way they've measured the size of this asteroid is they said it was the size of a football pitch, right? Didn't give it freedom measurements of like miles. No, a football pitch. I was like, football pitch? Oh, they mean like a soccer green. That's what they mean.
Soccer green.
So, I mean, I guess my question, you guys, the final question for this cast, then we can wrap her up because we're good God, we're an hour and a half in.
I told you I thought it was going to go about an hour and a half.
Yeah,
Vinny loves talking about this stuff too, so I knew this would be a good one.
Yeah, no, it's been great. No, what were you going to say, Vinny?
I just said I've got the gift of the gab. It's Irish. I'll talk about anything.
Yeah, too bad we're not in a pub. That'd be great. But here's my question, and I know what I think, but do you feel like we are in some sort of end time scenario, given everything that's going on, given that they're going to be sacrificing red calves in Israel in April, and the white buffalo has been born and found, so the Hopi Nations idea of the end times is happening. What are your thoughts on this? Wait, what's Jan?
Jan gave us hers.
Jan, I'm with you 100%. Jan says we're in the end times. My wife says yes.
Yes. What do you got, Vinny?
Well, like, it all depends on if you believe in the biblical interpretation of Judgment Day, really, the 7 seals and the rapture and God meeting Satan on the battlefield and all these kind of different things. But, like, my opinion of most religions is that, like, I'm a proponent of an advanced ancient civilization, or their technology was. It's like that line where advanced technology becomes indistinguishable from magic. So I don't really believe in a deity as such. I don't really believe in the Abrahamic religions. I believe that a lot of the religions have come from ancient civilizations that were advanced, that went out and influenced less advanced civilizations, and they were worshipped as gods. And then there was myths and lores built up around them. Over courses of like thousands of years. That's where I think religion came from. So like I don't know, like, if it's going to be the end times, I think it'd be an interplanetary thing. I don't think it's going to be a religious, like, I think it'll be some sort of interplanetary event, like an asteroid hit or a comet or something, and like the Younger Dryas period that Graham Hancock talks about, Randall Carson. Like, I think these things have happened. These things are quantifiable. These, like, you don't have to look to a date. You don't have to look to biblical text. But there's plenty of things out there that have caused destruction on Earth. They could cause end times. That have caused apocalyptic events. Like, why were so many populations forced underground? You look at these massive cave systems in Turkey and places around the world. So I think we have to worry about what's out there, not really what's up there. If that makes sense, you know. I don't think there's going to be any deity deciding whether or not they're going to end the world, or it's going to be this battle of good and evil. Maybe there will be, in terms of like there'll be an apocalyptic scenario, and it'll be up to people to stay human. Like, will it be still some sort of humanity left? Maybe that's the great terms of, you know, good and evil, if you want to talk about that. But I think if there's going to be a judgment day or whatever, it's not going to be biblical. It's going to be astronomical. You know what I mean? Like, so I think it'll come from space, not from
It'll
on
be a
high in
major.
heaven or whatever.
I think it'll be a major shift. I think it's so. I was talking to this lady, Marina Jacoby, recently on my Manifesting Conversations podcast, and we were talking about quantum theory and quantum entanglement, and kind of how like the collective conscious of man, and how Earth and it's developing is hitting another frequency in the quantum field, like it's going on to that next frequency, and we're being assisted by these other beings of higher resonance or higher vibrations that are watching and helping us. I don't think that we would be allowed to destroy this unless it was like a natural disaster. I think that we are starting to get into this another level, but it's going to take some trial and error, and we're going to be the ones that cause it. But I don't think that it's an end time situation. I think it's a realizing the hard way what's happening, like in order for us to get to that next step.
Consciousness shift.
Yes. I the more I've researched quantum field and quantum manifestation and the entanglement, it's resonating a lot with me. Even from what religious background I have, it's making sense to me more so than religion did. Because so I do believe there's higher beings out there and higher existence, but not on a like religious base that most people here on Earth go by. I think that a lot of it has been assisted by these higher powers that could have easily came and just destroyed us if they're like, these guys are fucking up. Let's just get rid of them and start over.
And the thing is, I wonder if it's an amalgamation of kind of all of it. Because if you like biblically, you look at Ezekiel. Ezekiel saw the wheel way up in the middle of the air, right? Yep. Even my Bible talks about a mountain thrown into the. Oh yeah, which would definitely be a football pitch sized object.
I definitely believe in the flood myth as well. 100% believe in the flood myth.
Yeah.
Flood myth. Oh, are you kidding me? The mud flood, Tartaria, man. You should have been on the other. Okay.
He loves this stuff. Vinny loves this stuff. We need to invite him on board.
Yeah, sure. But so if why can't it be that we have conflated aliens and gods and things and called it what is in our Bible, these higher beings that are coming down, which again, if that is the case and we are having an awakening, a great awakening across the planet, and we're suffering the growing pains, then that would explain, if there are people that don't want us to know about it, why when the TikTok shut down and everything, and all of a sudden all the talk of motherships and alien ships and orbs and everything just went away. It's all gone now. So that interests me very much. And the fact that maybe demons aren't demons, but they're interdimensional beings, and having space.
Okay. So when I talked to Marina Jacoby, and I'm going to reference her because I actually really did enjoy the conversation I had with her. I asked her about the paranormal and the good and the bad, and what she says, because she's actually a channeler, or she's a channel. I'm going to do this just because obviously nobody can prove it, but she channels extraterrestrial beings that actually reached out to her and got her into automatic writing I don't know if you know what that is, or you just write. And
Yeah.
she said that she's had conversations with them. She's been taken on to some of their ships and stuff like that. I'm not going to sit here and say 100% I agree with what she's saying, but she said, I asked her about good and evil and paranormal, and she said, with consciousness in the quantum realm, you have all these atoms and molecules. When one atom, merges with another atom, it's like taking 1 + 1 not equaling 2 but equaling 3, because there's that mutation between the two, and that's an infinite expansion that just continues to grow. And with our collective consciousness, it's almost like an organic AI. So as much as it's learning and expanding, there's got to be that positive and negative equally across the board, and it doesn't understand what's right or wrong. So when we have these like paranormal experiences, it's these negative charged consciousness that are jumping between realities, and that's what we're seeing.
Interdimensional beings.
Yes.
Hmm.
It was, she explained it. I mean, it was fascinating the way she explained it. It was a totally different look on how I've ever heard of it.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe in the multiverse, like not wholeheartedly, because obviously you can't prove it, but like the Mandela effect is very interesting. Why so many people have experienced that, and why there like maybe there is a shift. Like some people talk about there's a shift in the, like you spoke about the shift in the vibrations and stuff. Like maybe there's a shift because we're in a different like multiverse, different timeline, like weird things like that. That's what I think about. Like the large hadron collider. Like what if something did happen and we can't remember because it didn't happen in this timeline, but we've been transported to another timeline and it has happened, but we just don't have a general recollection of it, because when it happened, it occurred and it created a whole new timeline, and because it didn't happen here, it happened in the previous timeline. There's like this paradox where it created something, but it never happened here because it happened in the other timeline technically, but I created this timeline because it occurred in a different timeline, and that's why this world feels weird to everyone, and why like this we're like living in a hollow existence compared to what we were, but maybe we're fueled by nostalgia, like our parents and their grandparents, like and our grandparents. So
We will do a
it's,
show.
you
We
know.
will do a show on that too, Vinny. I've really been deep diving, and actually, I'm sure Sean would love to be a part of that one too, because diving into the quantum field and quantum entanglement is fascinating. It really is, and especially if you come from a religious background, but you're open minded to it, it really it almost connects with some of the beliefs that you have. It's weird. It's weird to
Well,
explain, but it's fun.
the people that are doing this stuff are merging those ancient beliefs and science. Like if you look at the CERN, we'll just start at the basic stuff. The CERN logo, 666, toppled on its side. Why is there a statue of the goddess of death right in the middle of where the Hadron Collider is? Like, why would they even do that? And they have videos of people in cloaks walking out around the damn thing. Why would they do that?
Yeah.
When you're the Hadron Collider is something that is so scientifically minded, but yet it's like you're paying your homage to these old dark ways. It's very strange to me why they would do both, right?
I had her because she said that she could channel them whenever she needed to, because I was talking to her about like the Egyptian pyramids and stuff like that. And the way she explained it was that the ancient civilizations had a lot of communication with the extraterrestrial races, and that they taught them to use the vibrations and frequencies to kind of connect with surfaces and sound waves, like your surroundings, and that they taught through like vibrations and like sound. She said the way she said it was, it's look, when I see it in my head, it's like these waves or water waves, but it was these vibrations that could cause these things to get built, like these massive pyramid structures that back then they didn't really have the technology to do. You know, if we look at like history on the line, it's like they used pulleys and wheels and stuff, and but according to her, it was a lot of more of the quantum, using that field of vibration frequencies to move the structures. It's weird.
I've heard that theory as well, but I've also heard that Nephilim were around and they were big enough to pick up those damn rocks and just go thunk.
Yeah, I mean they have uncovered skulls and stuff of some
Yeah, like
massive beings.
the giant myth as well. That's like I always like to look at like common myths, like dragons, giants, the flood. Why are all these different like cultures that are never really interconnected, as far as we know? Why do they have all these shared mythologies?
Yeah.
Maybe because they existed. It's weird.
Tartaria. I mean, Tartaria is a world
Yeah.
round. I mean, some of the cities and
Atlantis.
the forts, man, the way that they're designed, they're all the same.
Like Atlantis, like you had Plato talking about Solon. He's found out in Egypt. He found out about like Atlantis in Egypt, and then he was passed it on. And like it's strange. Like I just want to know, like what I would really love to know is like why are there so many commonalities around the world about these so-called myths if none of these cultures were interconnected in any way, shape, or form unless they existed?
Well, you just got to know that most of our history is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's just like Easter Island. The statues on Easter Island. I have a book from the 1960s that,
Boy.
yeah, exactly. And it's, these heads are all buried. And there's like, did not one person think, you know what, let's get a garden trowel? Look, they have a whole body. And it's like, the whole thing is bullshit. The whole mythos and mystery, and it was more. And it's just like the World's Fair in Chicago, which we've still got to do that H.H. Holmes thing.
We are. Are you familiar with H.H. Holmes?
100%. Yeah.
We are going to do a Singed Eye Sockets podcast where we do a deep dives on either murderers or like cold case files. We're doing one on H.H. Holmes if you're interested.
Awesome.
Yeah, his murder hotel, dude.
Of course, yeah, like where he built all the different ways where he couldn't escape and all the dead ends. Yeah, he's a fascinating character.
Yeah, but he had that murder hotel during the damn World's Fair in Chicago, where all of these structures, these massive, insanely, with the technology they had at the time, that would take, and they have done studies with saying that even with our modern materials and modern equipment and everything to build the structures that they supposedly built in like a year and a half, it would take us a minimum of 5 to 7 years to build those structures. And they're saying even with manpower being ridiculous, if they just had all the manpower they needed, still wouldn't have been able to do it. And so it's like we're doing the mathematics on it. It's like it's all bullshit. It's like everything we look at is just like bullshit, 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 bullshit. And it's like, when do we start just getting the truth?
It's like what Napoleon said, wasn't it? Napoleon that said that history is just a set of lies agreed upon. So that's the way it is,
Yeah.
Right.
All right.
This is a heck of a show, man. This is good.
Yeah, but we need to wrap it up, guys, because we're at almost a minute 40 or an hour 45.
Hour and 40 minutes. This is the longest I think we've done one of these, man.
Yeah,
it's nearly 4 a.m. here.
All right, so it's late, and thank you everybody that popped in and commented. And
Jan, thank you so much.
Oh,
Justin, thank you so much.
And Dustin and JG, Vinny, I appreciate you guys being here for Blurred Lines. Jukebox, you got any last thoughts?
I just want to give a big shout out to everybody that's been, the admins and everything. Sean, I know you've been busting your ass, but I know that you're like very passionate about doing this stuff as well. Evolution's been doing a great job. I mean, we've all been busy, but I'm really wanted to get this back and going. And I know Vinny's even at one point was going to jump back on, but then he was like, hey man, I'm a busy man. I want to do it. I want to jump on the shows. Like I want to be a part of it, but I can't commit, which I actually appreciate that honesty. But dude, you're a great talker. You're great at this stuff. So you're welcome to be on any of them. You just got to reach out.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
But yeah, I'm really excited about where this going. I met somebody on TikTok. He does these live panel interviews. His name's Jobless. Actually, Justin, who kept commenting earlier, it's him. He does these like live panel conversations at night on TikTok almost every night, growing quickly. He's wanted to collab, bring a show to the channels, and I mean, things are going really well. Things are going well. So I see this network really kind of taking off here in the very near future.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
yeah.
All right, Vinny, you got any final thoughts before we wrap it?
Thanks for having me on, and I just want to say thanks to caffeine for keeping me awake. Because if it wasn't for caffeine, I would not be here right now.
I give you 20 minutes and you're out.
But yeah, no, seriously. Thanks for the discussion, boys. Like, it's super interesting. Thanks for having me on, Dylan. I owed you because there's so many times you got up so early to do shows with me. Like, so I owed you a couple of late nights. So it's all good, bro.
I've made friends with you. I've got a guy in Greece that I met that from a show. I've got a guy in Australia. I'm willing to work around it. Like, I have such a busy schedule, so if I can make it work, I don't care what time it is. I love doing this and talking to people like you, Vinny. You and I have been friends for several years now through this, and it's who would have thought that's something that I could do? Just make friends around the world, It's
madness.
Yeah,
It's come a long way.
Yeah, man. I do think one of our next Singed Eye sockets should be on what he was talking about, like a deep dive on that topic about the Kings. What were you calling him earlier on?
The Fomorians and the Two of the Danann.
Yes,
Baylor.
That sounded fascinating.
Yeah, King Nuada and King Baylor.
Yeah, that'd be a good show.
All right, well,
we'll talk later about it. Yeah.
Yep, JG, thank you so much. We're doing a Midwest goodbye, so I'm going to stop it right now and say thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you later.
We'll see you around. Justin said time to wrap it up. And with that, I'm hitting the end of the podcast.